So we've seen a lot of the different offerings be described and the different applications of the different offerings. This chapter reinforces some of those and gives more of an insight into the priest perspective when it comes to performing them and some of the ordinances around that. Leviticus 6:1. And the Lord said to Moses, 6:2, if anyone sins and commits a trespass against the Lord and deals falsely with his neighbor in a matter of deposit given him to keep, or of bargain or pledge, or of robbery, or has oppressed his neighbor, 6:3, or has found what was lost and lied about it, or swears falsely in any of these things which men do, and sin in so doing. In this section, we see a person who is described to be defrauding their neighbor. Maybe they're looking after some money or looking after some tools or implements, and then they say that they lost it or stole it, or they were robbed and there was violence involved. It doesn't really matter what manner of deception was used, for it was not the truth. And in that deception of their neighbor, they are actually sinning against the Lord. And that is kind of the crux of this situation. This thing that doesn't seem like the Lord's involved at all, but to him it is a sin against him. Leviticus 6:4. Then it shall be, because he hath sinned. Oh, I'm in King James again. Leviticus 6:4. Then if he has sinned and is guilty, he shall restore what he took by robbery, or what he secured by oppression or extortion, or what was delivered to him to keep in trust, or the lost thing which he found. 6:5. Or anything about which he has sworn falsely, he shall not only restore it in full, but shall add to it 1/5 more, and give it to him to whom it belongs on the day of his trespass or guilt offering. So there's going to be a trespass or guilt offering required after this event. And during part of that trespass or guilt offering, the man is going to be forced to pay restitution. He has to restore the item or the value of the item, and then 1/5 more. So the item plus 20%. It's just quite an interesting situation. We have somebody that maybe they're going away for a while. They're going away for the weekend, and they take their valuables or whatever, or maybe some sort of item, give it to the neighbor, trust them with this item, and then they come back from their trip and they're wondering what's going on. Can you not trust your own neighbor? Is your neighbor stealing from you? Is your neighbor not able to protect the item and it end up getting stolen anyway, right? It's just that idea of stewardship and trusting in your neighbor and having them kind of drop the ball. Some of this seems like good faith, trusting in the neighbor to be able to look after such and such an item. And if it was legitimately stolen and it could be proven as such, I don't think there would be that same level of guilt. Yes, there's still the stewardship aspect that it is his responsibility, but sometimes there are situations where it's outside of the conventional circumstance. Leviticus 6:6. And he shall bring to the priest his trespass or guilt offering to the Lord, a ram without blemish out of the flock, valued by you to the amount of his trespass. 6:7. And the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord, and he shall be forgiven for anything of all that he may have done by which he has become guilty. So we have restitution being paid to the person that owned the item, and so they're all okay, and they got paid a little bit more than what the item was worth, so they can't say that they were ripped off. The Lord, he needs an offering to deal with the sin. So we have this offering being made. And when it talks about the value of the ram, I think that's kind of one of those alternatives that it's like if the person doesn't have a ram to bring in, that he can take the money there and be able to purchase the ram to be used for that purpose, for the value of that trespass offering. Leviticus 6 and 8. And the Lord said to Moses, 6 and 9, command Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the law of the burnt offering. The burnt offering shall remain on the altar all night until morning. The fire shall be kept burning on the altar. In this section here, we're going to see some details on the rules and regulations for the priests from now on, dealing with the burnt offering. And we have the burnt offering. That was one that we covered a couple of chapters ago, in which the animal was placed on the fire and consumed completely by the fire. So I guess if they put it on, they got to have that fire running all night and got to keep stoking the flame to make sure that the entire thing gets consumed by the flame and not let the flame go out. Leviticus 6 and 10. And the priest shall put on his linen garment and put his linen breeches on his body, and take up the ashes of what the fire has consumed with the burnt offering on the altar, and put them beside the altar. So we have the description here of the priest working, and he is shoveling the ash from the burnt offering and placing it beside the altar. And while the priest is working, he is wearing the holy garments. He is wearing the linen garments that were described several chapters ago, and he's got on the fancy undergarments, the underwear as well, as that is part of the uniform or the dress of the priest when they are working inside the holy area. Leviticus 6 and 11. And he shall put off his garments and put on other garments and carry the ashes outside the camp to a clean place. So the priest, when he's doing all of his rituals inside the tabernacle, he is wearing his holy dress. He's wearing the holy garments. But the second he has to leave and to get rid of the ashes, right? There's going to be a lot of ashes because there's a lot of sin. There's a lot of offerings being made, although the burnt offering is not the same as a sin offering. Either way, both of them make ash, and the ash needs to be removed periodically. And when the priest is going to do that, he can't be wearing the holy dress outside of the tabernacle, so he needs to put his street clothes on or other work uniform. Maybe they're still nice clothes, I don't know. But he's not to be wearing the clothes that are consecrated to be specifically used in the holy services inside the tabernacle. So he puts on the street clothes, takes the ashes outside, and disposes them at the designated place. Leviticus 6 and 12. And the fire upon the altar shall be kept burning on it. It shall not be allowed to go out. The priest shall burn wood on it every morning, and lay the burnt offering in order upon it. And he shall burn on it the fat of the peace offerings. 6 and 13. The fire shall be burning continually upon the altar. It shall not go out. So we have that double reiterated there. The fire is not allowed to go out. There's a lot of symbology with the tabernacle and its operation, and a lot of it is setting up patterns that we're going to see when it comes to Jesus and his life and how he relates to the tabernacle in a metaphorical sense, as he is our sin offering and he is our burnt offering to allow us as Christians to have fellowship with God. So in order to have that pattern, the fire is not allowed to go out, because that would be the same as saying Jesus was a failure. So there's certain rules and regulations on how things need to be done in the tabernacle to set up the patterns that we'll see in the future when it comes to Christ. And that's why a lot of these things are very particular in their ordinance. Leviticus 6 and 14. And this is the law of the cereal offering. The sons of Aaron shall offer it before the Lord in front of the altar. 6 and 15. One of them shall take his handful of the fine flour of the cereal offering, the oil of it, and all the frankincense which is upon the cereal offering, and burn it on the altar as a memorial of it, a sweet and satisfying fragrance to the Lord. 6 and 16. And the remainder of it shall Aaron and his sons eat without leaven in a holy place, in the court of the tent of meeting. They shall eat it. 6 and 17. It shall not be baked with leaven. I have given it as their portion of my offering made by fire. It is most holy, like the sin offering and the guilt offering. Previously, we saw an entire chapter deal with the cereal offering, and there were several different types and varieties of cereal offerings, but in general, they're all similar in the sense that there's a portion that is burned on the altar and consumed by the flame, and then there's a portion that the priests get to have for themselves and bake into unleavened bread, and in some of the other ones that the offering was the bread itself and it didn't need to be pre-baked, or it was already made, so that a portion of the bread would just be burned and then the priest would get their own portion. And they're able to consume it in a holy place, so in the courtyard of the tabernacle. And this was one of the ways that God was looking after the priests and providing for the priests, so that the priests would be able to sustain their lives and have food to eat. Leviticus 6 and 19. And the Lord said to Moses, 6 and 20, This is the offering which Aaron and his sons shall offer to the Lord on the day when one is anointed and consecrated, the tenth of an ephah of fine flour for a regular cereal offering, half of it on the morning and half of it at night. 6 and 21. On a griddle or baking pan it shall be made with oil. And when it is fried, you shall bring it in broken and fried pieces. You shall offer the cereal offering as a sweet and satisfying odor to the Lord. 6 and 22. And the priest among Aaron's sons, who is consecrated and anointed in his stead, shall offer it by a statute forever. It shall be entirely burned to the Lord. 6 and 23. For every cereal offering of the priest shall be wholly burned and not be eaten. So here we have the description of a cereal offering being made for the anointing or consecration of the priest. So the priest is the one giving the offering and are the one performing the offering as well. So they're giving and performing the offering. And in this instance, the entire portion of the cereal offering is to be burned. And this makes a lot of sense, because if they were to get a portion of this cereal offering, it's like a rebate check or something, where it's like they're the ones looking after all of this and then they get a portion of it back. That's just kind of weird. Whereas when someone else is offering to the Lord and it's like the priest, it's almost like their form of payment for officiating the services and performing the offering. So because this offering is made by the priest for the priest, it all goes to the Lord and they don't get their own portion back. I don't know. To me, that makes sense, but I don't know if I've said it in a way that kind of conveys that. But conflict of interest or vested interest, it's just a little bit odd. So we see that there's cereal offering that is described here is 1/10 of an ephod, and an ephod is 22 liters or 1/5 a bushel. So 1/10 of that, it's about a 2-liter pop bottle worth of flour, and I guess that's divided again, half in the morning, half at night. So that's the amount of grain that is going to be burned. Flour, fine flour, finely grind flour. Leviticus 6 and 24. And the Lord said to Moses, 6 and 25, Say to Aaron and his son, This is the law of the sin offering. In the place where the burnt offering is killed, shall the sin offering be killed before the Lord. It is most holy. 6 and 26. The priest who offers it for sin shall eat it in a sacred place. Shall it be eaten in the court of the tent of meeting. 6 and 27. Whoever or whatever touches its flesh shall first be dedicated and made clean, and when any of its blood is sprinkled on a garment, you shall wash that garment in a place set apart to God's worship. 6 and 28. But the earthen vessel in which it is boiled shall be broken, and if it is boiled in a bronze vessel, that vessel shall be scoured and rinsed in water. 6 and 29. Every male among the priests may eat of this offering. It is most holy. In the previous chapter, or in a previous chapter, we saw a lot about the sin offering and how it was to be conducted, and how the fat was to be separated and the entrails and the certain organs, and what amount of the animal was to be consumed by the flame on the altar and what was the remainder. And it appears that some of that remainder, some portion of it, goes to the priest and they're able to consume that. And this is how God sustains the priests in another way. They have quite a few different types of offerings made to the Lord, and there's certain portions that go to the priest to sustain the priest. And a lot of what we just read there dealing with the blood of the animal of the sacrifice. For the blood is, well, it's very symbolic when it comes to the sin offering and what needs to be done for the cleansing process and how to clean the clothes or clean the tools and just how to deal with the blood of the sin offering. Leviticus 6 and 30. But no sin offering shall be eaten of which any of the blood is brought into the tent of meeting to make atonement in the holy place. It shall be wholly burned with fire. When we were looking at some of the sin offerings, some were made for different groups of people. There were sin offerings for the congregation, and there was a sin offering for priests, in which the blood of the animal was dipped and sprinkled before the veil inside of the tent of meeting, inside the tabernacle. And I think it was also placed on the corners of the altar of incense. And this is a pretty serious deal. And that's what this line here is referring to, that in those particular instances that they're not allowed to eat any of the animals that were a part of that level of sin offering.